Hello and welcome to This Week in James City County. I'm your host, Renee Dahlman. Today we are once again doing a live episode. I have with me Alistair Perkinson. Alistair is the Parks Administrator for James City County. Welcome, Alistair.
Thanks, Renee. Thanks. We're really excited to share with you today our progress on several park master plans for 3 of our parks.
I think that is great. And let me just, before we really get into it, let me just remind folks, please send us your questions as we're going through this, and we will try to get answers to you right away. You can send them here on our Facebook post or event, or you can also make a telephone call, and I believe that number is on the screen right now. And so send us your questions, and we would love to help answer them for you. So, Alistair, speaking of answering all the questions, take it away.
All right. Thanks, Renee. So like I said, we're really excited to share our progress on several park master plan updates. So to start off with, I just wanted to talk really quickly about what is a master plan. So a master plan is really kind of a conceptual, long-term planning document that shows what would this park look like 10, 20 years from now when it's fully built out. It's not a site plan. It isn't an exact engineered drawings, and often things that appear on there may not be to scale or in their exact position, but it's more of that long-term layout of what the park would look like. So this year, we're updating 3 parks: Upper County Park, the Warhill Sports Complex, and the James City County Recreation Center Park. So to do this, we followed a template that we used last year for the Shaping Our Shores master plan, and we formed a team of folks in several different county departments, including General Services, Parks and Rec, Stormwater, Resource Protection, and Planning, to look at all these different parks and plans. And we did it with the goal of looking at the existing park amenities, looking at existing park master plans if we had them, and trying to determine based on our other planning documents how to develop those parks in the future. So to start out with, we're going to talk about Upper County Park, and that's actually one of our oldest county parks. It opened in 1984, and it's a community park that primarily serves the residents of that area. There was no master plan for this park. There was a draft that was created in the early 1990s, but never an approved master plan. So when we sat down and looked at this particular park, we looked a lot at our 2017 Parks and Recreation Master Plan and noticed there were quite a few amenities that are really kind of lacking in that portion of the county, including hard surface trails, gyms, rec centers, and indoor pools. So with that in mind, we looked at the map here of the park, and to give you a quick layout of the existing amenities, we have a swimming pool and a toddler pool. We have 3 picnic shelters. We have a playground, a sand volleyball. We have several miles of mountain biking trails. We have an area for primitive camping for youth groups, for instance, the Boy Scouts, to do primitive leave no trace style camping. And we have a basketball court. So we looked at some of those areas of need, and after review, our team is proposing the following new amenities out here. So we're looking at a paved multi-use trail, a community gymnasium that would be able to house several full-size courts, fitness area, and perhaps office space. We have some increased parking for some of these new amenities. We have a large off-leash area for dogs, which is something the community's really been telling us they needed out here and at all of our parks. We have an archery range for some of our programs and a maintenance area for some of our park maintenance. And then lastly, we have another court adjacent to the basketball court for tennis and or pickleball. So those are the items that we focused on for Upper County Park. The next park we looked at was the James City County Recreation Center Park. So most folks are familiar with the Recreation Center, but we also have quite a bit of parkland around that center. In addition to that, there's a piece of land adjacent to the rec center that was the old site of a Service Authority water tower that's no longer there. So that was part of our plan as well, to develop that area. Again, just like Upper County Park, the Rec Center Park did not have an existing master plan. So we had to look at some of our other planning documents to kind of determine what the biggest needs were in this area. So if we look at the map here, existing now, we have the Rec Center. We have the 2 softball fields, the 2 rectangular fields for soccer and lacrosse. We have the My Place playground and our parking area. We have a 2-mile paved multi-use trail that runs around the park and down the road here. And then we have the skate park, the existing skate park. And so when we looked at what some of their needs are, the first thing we wanted to do was we wanted to take this parcel here where the water tower used to be and really connect it to the whole park area here. So what we're proposing is to actually close this short road that connects Depew and Long Hill and break that up to open up that space so that pedestrians can walk freely around this park area without traffic intersecting that. And then in addition to that, we're looking at potentially expanding the skate park. We're looking at an expansion of the rec center that could be possibly used for voter registration. We're looking at several restroom/concession buildings. So the first would be over here by our softball and soccer fields, to have a restroom facility that could also serve as a concession area, and restrooms over here near our skate park that are outdoor. And we currently do not have any restrooms that are outside of the rec center on this site. We're also looking at another off-leash area, and this area is very forested, so this would be a good opportunity for us to have a shaded off-leash area. And then we're also looking at a picnic shelter and parking to support those new amenities. Lastly, we looked at the Warhill Sports Complex, and this park did have an existing master plan from 2016, but we took a little bit different track in planning this one, in that we work with over 20 youth sports organizations that work either out of the Warhill Sports Complex or in our other parks. So before we even started talking about this park, we held a meeting with them to get some feedback from them, or what are the needs, what are some of the things that they would like to see in this park. And the biggest feedback we received were more lighted rectangular fields, more full-sized baseball fields, and softball fields to support the growing participation in senior softball. So we started with this 2016 master plan, and we mainly made adjustments here where there were either amenities that we know will no longer be a part of this plan, or there's new amenities that have been built that weren't part of this plan. So to start off with, for Warhill, we removed this field next to the baseball area to expand parking. We already have a fairly high need for parking in that area as it is. We removed some of these rectangular fields that were planned up here, and part of the reason for that is we do already have a traffic management plan in place, and we see quite a bit of traffic coming in and out of this park, and we felt like to have that many fields operating simultaneously would be hard to manage at this location. So we removed some of those fields, and then we removed some proposed areas that were no longer a part of our plans, including an indoor sports facility, a BMX park, and a running center, which has actually been moved to the Jamestown Beach Event Park Master Plan. So then, to bring us to the current plan, so then we looked to add some things. So the big thing we looked at first was the service road that connects the two sides of the park. So the entrance to the park on this side by the baseball fields comes in from Long Hill Road, and the entrance to the park where the stadium is comes off Opportunity Way off of Centerville Road. And we have a small service road that connects the two, and it sees quite a bit of traffic. So our first plan was to take that road and divert it around the recreational amenities, and to build that road to be able to withstand and manage the increased traffic on it, and get those most of those vehicles out of the areas where we have our recreational amenities. So that new service road area would kind of run behind the fields here and across out to the stadium parking lot. Um, Next, we like I said, we downsized some of our rectangular fields, and so we have 4 remaining rectangular fields planned for this area F here. We added a baseball stadium complex adjacent to our existing stadium. Um, we added the existing indoor pool facility that was built since that last master plan was created. We added some tennis or pickleball courts adjacent to the existing basketball court. We added the existing community garden that is here, located here, that wasn't represented on the 2016 plan. We also added the existing grounds maintenance building that wasn't represented on the older plan. And then we added in select areas parking to support those amenities. So with that being said, we'd love to hear from the public any thoughts. There's some questions up here that we've asked on our surveys, but we're welcome to take any questions from the public. So.
All right, great. So I know that we're on kind of a tight deadline on the input side of this. I understand June 14th.
That is correct. So we have a survey posted online, and we have a listening station at the rec center, and we've actually set it up at the outdoor pool at Upper County Park as well. And those will end on June 14th.
Okay, so our viewers and listeners may want to get right on getting that survey done. Where can they? Okay, so you've said, and I believe we're going to have it on the screen where folks can find the surveys. That is great. You had a virtual meeting, or not? It was virtual, right, over
Yes.
Zoom, a week or so ago. How did
Right.
that go?
That went really well. We had a lot of positive feedback, a lot of feedback about our skate park.
Okay.
We saw a great turnout from the skateboarding community there, and we did do that virtually on Zoom. So this is our kind of our second opportunity to share this with the public, and we have been seeing quite a few surveys come in as well. So we're
Okay.
excited about that.
Well, great. And again, that's a reminder to everyone. If you have any questions or thoughts about the master plan update, please send them right now and we'll be happy to discuss them. So that is great. So tell me about, what do you think is the most unique? I'm kind of putting you on the spot here, but what would you say would be the most unique idea
I
that's out
think
there?
actually one of the most unique ideas, and I might have passed over it when I was talking about Upper County Park, is it's not necessarily a new amenity, but we wanted to include the at least the concept of being able to cover that outdoor pool at Upper County Park. We always have a lot of demand for pool space, especially in the winter months when you don't have the outdoor pools open. And we'd really like to explore that, whether it's one of our partner groups that were to do something like that. But that possibility being that it's a 25-meter pool, it can be used for competitive swimming. And just in the winter, a lot of feedback I've gotten as well. What about in the summer? We want it to be outside. This would be something that would just be able, a structure to cover it in those winter months. So I think that's fairly unique. So.
Okay. Well, and I'm looking through this and I think it all sounds great and loads of fun. So, can we expect that it'll all be done by next, maybe fiscal year 2023, right?
Yeah, that'd be great. But what we do, and that's a question we get quite a bit as well, is these ideas look great. When will we see them? So when we go through this process, when we ultimately get these plans approved, they're kind of our roadmap to the future. So when we every year we do a 5-year capital improvement budget, and we have to take all these amenities, not just from these 3 parks, but all of our other parks, and we prioritize them against each other based on citizen need, maintenance needs, and that sort of thing. So some of these items could come sooner rather than later, and a lot of that's based on the feedback we get from citizens. But we like to plan these 10 years out. And we also our goal is to update these plans every 10 years as well. So every year we hope to bring another 3 parks up for master plan updates.
Okay. Now, for Warhill, you've got on the list a running center. What is a running center?
So the running center has actually been removed from Warhill.
Okay.
That was on the 2016
Oh,
plan.
I apologize.
And that's all right.
You're
I mean,
right.
but that has been relocated on our Jamestown Beach Event Park plan. So the running center was really an initiative from an outside group to kind of have a home base for all of our popular, 5Ks, 10Ks runs,
Okay.
and so that's now on the beach master plan. So
Okay, very
yeah.
good. I highlighted the wrong section in my notes, as you can tell. So
All right.
I apologize about that. So I know that getting input from the public has been something that's been very important to Parks and Recreation for years. You all have an advisory board, correct?
Yes,
And that's made up of citizens.
it is.
So it's very important that we hear from folks to know what they want. And I think a great example of that, I believe, is pickleball. That I know that pickleball was a big thing in the
Yeah.
leisure world or the sports world. Can you talk a little bit? I am totally putting you on the spot,
Absolutely, but
but
that's great. And you're right. Pickleball is, I mean, it's one of the fastest growing sports, and there was a huge citizen need for it. And, so in the earlier days, we lined some space for pickleball, but we did just recently, this past, probably about exactly a year ago, when we renovated the courts at Veterans Park. We renovated them to full pickleball
Mhm.
courts. And if anyone's driven past there, you can see that they are active from morning to night. It's very popular. We've gotten some great feedback on that. And so we made sure, actually, all three of these plans include some sort of tennis and or pickleball courts in them. So
Okay, very good. And I know you've also mentioned about partnerships with clubs and organizations. I know that bike trails, that you've been very active with groups on getting bike trails established in these parks as well.
absolutely. And Upper County Park already features some great mountain biking trails, and as does Freedom Park. And those are a lot of those trails are driven by our volunteer groups and the groups we work with. So the Eastern Virginia Mountain Bike Association actually built all those trails, and they maintain them, and they ride them, and they provide a great service to the public to have those out there. So
Very good. All right, now I have a question, and it's not me, of course, that is curious. It's others, I'm sure, because I'm sure I noticed and I was on top of it the whole time. When did the water tower go away?
that's a great question. I don't know the answer
Oh,
to
good. Okay.
that. It's been quite a while. I'm not
Okay.
sure the exact year. We did actually have a conceptual plan for that area, which is very similar to what ended up on this proposed master plan from, um, I believe, 2000. So a little over 20 years ago. I think that probably roughly coincides with when that tower came down. So
Okay. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I guess you're used to seeing, and then when it's gone, you
Yep.
just, yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
Interesting, but what a great space. And I like the idea of being able to have it open for a potential shaded off leash dog park.
Absolutely.
That's great. And so, where's the other off leash dog park? Do we have one that's open now?
So we actually are hoping to have a fenced off-leash area at Veterans Park soon. So,
Okay.
if everyone could kind of stay tuned for that, that's something we're hoping to have fairly soon. And then we have two represented on these plans, one at the
Mhm.
Recreation Center Park and one at Upper County Park. And then in addition to that, we do have a actual dog park on the Freedom Park Master Plan as well. So we have it in a few different areas, and we actually also have an unfenced area that's designated for off leash at Jamestown Beach Event Park in the field there. And that is closed when we have events, and we use that field for parking or other things. But that is actually grown to be a fairly popular area for folks to take the dog off leash and play fetch and all that sort of stuff. So.
Okay. So, once again, if you have questions, please send them our way. We will be more than happy to get them answered for you. Alistair, are there other questions that people that you hear quite often when you're out in the community that we haven't covered?
Um, One of the questions, I'm trying to remember some of the ones we've gotten. One of the questions that I saw pop up quite a bit was about that pool, and that is more of a kind of a concept that we just wanted to include on
Hmm.
there.
Hmm.
And I did want to say that we don't intend to, put a building over that pool and make it an indoor pool
Hmm.
year round. We know how much people love that pool outdoors. And another has been about the shaded off leash areas. So in both of those parks, at the Recreation Center Park, that is going to be in a forested area, but also at Upper County Park, that area that it's shown, um, it does have some trees, and we would plan that to try to include as many of those trees in there and shade areas as possible, because we know this time of year, and an unshaded field can get pretty hot for the
Right.
for the dogs and the people. So
Right. Absolutely. So I'm going to just continue to put you on the spot. You are Parks Administrator for James
yes,
City County. And so you are responsible for all
correct.
James City County parks, correct? How many
Yes.
parks do we have?
So it depends on how you want to count them,
A.
but we typically we count 17 parks.
Ow.
So we do also we partnered with the city of Williamsburg to build the Waller Mill Dog Park
Mm-hmm.
years ago, and so
Mm-hmm.
we have some information on our website. But that's completely managed by the city of Williamsburg. Um, but yeah, so we have 17 parks, and it's really, we've really seen quite a few people, quite a large increase in the past year, people wanting to be outdoors
Yes.
and wanting to kind of play outside. And so we've seen a lot more people on our trails, using our parks with, especially with water access, boating access, boat ramps, canoes, kayaks, that sort of thing. So
Okay,
yeah.
great. Now, what are the next steps? So the surveys and everything close on June 14th. What
Right.
happens after that?
So after that, and I actually have it on the slide here. So we will take all the input, and like I said, we've gotten a tremendous and feedback from the public on these
Hmm.
plans. So we will sit down and we'll look through all of that, and we'll try to incorporate all of the feedback we get from the public into these plans. And so we'll revise the plans based on that feedback, and then we'll take it through the approval process. So first, it would go to our Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee
Okay.
for review, and then the James City County Planning Commission, and finally to the James City County Board of Supervisors
Okay.
for
Any
final
idea?
approval.
I'm sorry.
Sure.
Any idea time frame?
We hope to bring it to the Board of Supervisors in September. So,
Okay. That's pretty
and
quick.
obviously that can change, based on the meeting dates and everything. But that is our plan right now to try to get that final approval this September. So.
Okay. You had mentioned that in the future you'll do master plans for 3 additional parks.
Yes.
Do you know which 3?
We do not know next year's parks
Okay.
at this time. But
Okay. So this is
yeah.
just a rotating thing that you're going to be
That's our
doing.
hope, yeah. So that every park gets reviewed, and it wouldn't be as probably as extensive. For some of these parks, we don't have a master plan, so
Okay.
we're looking at what we have out there now and what are the needs, for the future. We hope, as we get to these down the road, it'll be more of a kind of minor updates to the plans. So.
Okay. When you look at all 17 parks, if Alistair had to choose what his favorite county park would be, can you do that?
That's very hard. I think there's something really special about all of them. I you know I think there's nothing quite like Freedom Park, and I think a lot of people enjoy Freedom Park, but the Jamestown Beach is really a great way to spend the day. Any day in the summertime is to go out there. Chickahominy Riverfront Park is beautiful. We're almost finished with some shoreline stabilization out there, and there's some really stunning views of the river out there. We hope folks will get out there soon. It's impossible for me to pick a favorite. So
Okay, well, and that wasn't very fair of me to ask, but we're very fortunate, I think, here in James City County to have the great parks that we have.
absolutely.
Absolutely. So if you now see, folks, this is what happens when we don't get questions. We just have to make stuff up. So that's what. If you, what is the most unique idea out there right now in the world of parks and recreation in terms of facilities or parks, or are we kind of just on that edge that we've,
There's a lot of them. There's one of the neat ones that's been around for a few years now are more natural play areas. So
okay,
instead of your, um, we've got some great playgrounds in James City County. We have Kidsburg, and then most of our other parks have a playground. But there's kind of a concept of these natural play areas that use, you know, logs and natural features, and so that's one that's kind of interesting, and we've seen in some other areas. We've seen pickleball grow, and that's
right,
one that's really picking up there. And really, from a state perspective, it's kind of the trails and water access are the two things that are always kind of top the list of needs.
right.
Um,
And that is something we have become very fortunate over the last several years
Absolutely.
in terms
Hmm.
of increasing our water access with Jamestown Beach. And that's great. And so, to our listeners and our viewers, if you've gone on a trip and if you've been somewhere and they've had some great park amenity that you think we should have, this is really the time for future parks. It sounds like there's some conceptions out there right now for these three parks, but we want to know
Absolutely.
what
Yeah.
else
Hmm.
because we want to make sure that that is part of why people move here, I would say, to James City County is because of our beautiful outdoor spaces and our beautiful parks. And we want that to continue. We want people to be happy and to stay. So that's great. Okay, we still do not have any questions. So here in just a couple of minutes, we're going to wrap up. So if you have any last minute questions, this is the time. Um, so tell me a little bit, if you wouldn't mind. There is an existing community garden, correct?
Yes.
Tell me a little bit more about that.
So that's actually they're called the Waynesburg Community Growers, and
Okay.
so they operate that garden there, kind of behind the stadium, in that area. And I can actually switch back to the map here.
Oh, okay.
Um, at Warhill Sports Complex, and they have several, several areas that members of the community can come in and garden. And they maintain lots of different pollinator plants out in that area. And actually a really popular corridor for people who are interested in butterflies. And
Hmm.
that there's a lot of great native plants growing out in that area. So it's really pretty over there, and definitely worth checking out.
Yeah, very good. Okay, I think I've stalled about as long as I can stall. Is there anything that you'd like to mention that we haven't
Yeah.
covered yet?
Well, when it's not related to these plans, but we were able to purchase land for a new park at Brickyard Landing in the past year. So using
Okay.
a land and water conservation fund grant, we were able to purchase over 100 acres of property at Brickyard Landing. So we already operated a boat ramp at that location, but we now have all the surrounding area. So that's one to look out for in the coming years for potential master planning. Currently, it is open. You can use the boat ramp. There's area to park there, but we hope to make some kind of short-term improvements here, including a attending pier, expanded parking, and that sort of thing in the next few years. So just something I wanted to make people aware of to check out. So,
Very
yeah.
good. Well,
Yeah.
good. Brickyard Landing. So
Yeah.
put that on your list. Okay. Well, no questions, but it's not too late. So if you have questions after we go off the air, please continue to send them to us through this event. Or you can also, there's going to be contact information on where to get in touch with us after the show is over. We also, again, important, June 14th is that deadline, so you want to make sure you keep that in mind. I'd like to do a special shout out to a few people we have helping with us. We have Jared in the other room ready to send us calls, and we've appreciated his work on that. We also have two great video folks in the back. We have Chris and Mitchell, and they have helped us with all of these live podcasts, and we really appreciate that. And most importantly, I really appreciate you coming in, Alistair, and going through this program with us again.
Thank you, Renee. This has been great. Thank you so much.
Well, I hope you get lots of great feedback.
Thanks.
All right. Well, that wraps up this episode of This Week in James City County. Thank you so much for tuning in. As always, please take a moment to go online and subscribe. That way, you will be sure to never miss an episode. You'll also want to go to our website. We're at jamescitycountyva.gov/podcast. And while there, you're going to be able to find all of our episodes. I believe this is 148. All of our website or all of our episodes, as well as a form that you can give us show ideas, feedback. We would love to hear from you. But before you complete that form, please complete the survey for the Parks and Recreation Master Plan. So again, thank you so much, and we will talk with you soon.